Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Bogus Hangout Part 2. We're having technical issues and we're halfway through the show and we're restarting. Uh, Welcome everybody.
Hello.
Do
Okay, so we're talking about scroll anomaly data in Google Search Console. And I had said that I don't think they should get rid of it, they should just improve it. But y'all seem to have problems with the way it works.
I have problems
Well,
thinking
explain.
Google will stick with. I have problems thinking Google will stick with anything that doesn't work long enough to improve it before they kill it.
There you go.
Oh, they've been sticking to search for 20 years or so.
Yeah, but I'm not sure that they've ever. I mean, that with them, that's two steps forward, one step back. You never know if search is going to. And I don't even view it as search anymore. It's more of an ad platform that happens to offer the occasional natural search result.
There you go.
So Google Maps started in 2001. That's still around.
Yeah, but they haven't updated Street View in half the country in what, 5 years?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure last time they updated that.
Well, it's been quite a while, and people had got to the point where they were relying on Street View, and hell, now a lot of those streets either have changed dramatically or don't exist, or it's if you're going to offer these things, you kind of have to keep them up to date,
Or
simply don't
do away
that.
with them, which
Yeah.
is what their choice has been.
I do know that they were doing some updates to Street View. I just don't know the last time they did.
I mean, it's unrealistic to expect them to update every single road and all that, but it is not unrealistic to think that they would update a city every year.
They've supposedly
what's
made
in the
lots
buildings?
What's in which buildings?
What I was going to say is what's in the building hardly ever changes. The outside, the outside hardly ever changes. What's going on inside of the buildings may change, but the buildings themselves are not changed much.
There are still plenty of examples of where the whole buildings are gone or buildings have been replaced, and I'm just saying it's just one
True
of many
enough.
things.
Yeah, I just thought the descriptions of the errors, right, could have been better, Bill. Like when we discussed, I wasted 45 minutes trying to figure out how I could unblock stuff that I had blocked, like comment feeds and the stuff for WordPress feeds. I had all that stuff blocked, not because I wanted to. WordPress also tells you to block that stuff, except for the RSS feed, which I do because the RSS feed removes no follow if you had put it on a link. Which may have changed.
RSS strips out the no follow?
Yeah, Dan Thies told me that quite a few years ago. May have changed now, but anything they've done once, they could do again. So just tells me that some fool there decided they would do it once, they could do it again. So, and besides, how many people actually use that other than the guy who's trying to steal your content? Easy way.
How many people use what other than the guy trying to steal your content?
RSS.
An RSS feed.
Oh. I thought you were referring to Google Search Console.
No. I'm dumb, but not that dumb.
I'm inclined to agree with you, though, Bill. I mean, right now I find that aspect totally useless because I can't believe it. But
I mean, how many
it doesn't make
users
sense to trash it rather than fix it. If it's not
many
working
users
right,
we-
make it work
yeah.
right.
How many years do we go with Google parameter handling with the message at the top of it saying "Don't use this"?
Yeah.
It's dangerous.
It didn't say
You
don't
can wipe out
use
your
it.
website.
It said know what
It's-
you're doing if you're going to use this.
It to most people who had no idea what they were doing, it said "Don't use this."
Well, that's a good idea. I agree with that.
Kind of like playing around with your HT access.
Yeah, or the robot text.
I mean, or
If you don't
playing
know
with
what you're doing.
it's like don't play with dynamite.
Right.
Yeah,
But it's
Unless you want to lose a hand.
yeah. I mean, instead of playing with this, go play with your FTP program. So you'll get the same results.
Now, from the post that I took that article from, John
Right.
Moose said that, yeah, we're removing it, but we're also going to replace it with something better.
Mm-hmm.
That was what he said, that they're going to make it better.
Well, let's hope so.
They
from
have a
Missouri.
chance of it.
Well, it's better. I agree that you still need something, Bill. Just, I wish
Yeah.
that stuff that you don't need to bother with, why does it need to tell you that? Right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Or it should have better explanations where I can go and get an explanation. Because I read
mean,
the explanations and they didn't help.
I like seeing URLs that are causing 500 server errors, because if there's something like a typo in those URLs and it's a link from another site, I can do a redirect to get it to go to the right URL. And I like that. I like being able to solve problems like that. And
Yeah,
Google Search Console makes that possible.
Yeah, Google also, remember reading somewhere where if you have more than one set of double slashes, that causes a problem with Google as well.
Yep.
There are parts of the report that are very important, like 404s and stuff like that, Bill. But there's other parts. Don't really need to know that, about a coverage issue on stuff that they don't index anyhow. It's not part of the coverage.
When Google tells you that they don't like your choice of canonicals and they'd rather use their own canonicals than ones that the user selected, you can investigate your canonicals to see what might be wrong with them.
Yep.
I agree. There's stuff in it that's really important, stuff like that, where you can find an error that's going to cause a thing. And I think that's how they're going to improve it is better categorization or better formatting of how they present problems.
I think some user testing to see if people understand what they're trying to say with the tool would be helpful.
Yeah.
And you pick
Well,
people who aren't necessarily experts in analyzing Google code.
You also have to take into account too, Bill, that recently they started sending you emails informing you of your coverage issues.
Really, have they?
I get them every month.
Yep.
That's how I found that error.
I haven't gotten any of those, so I guess
been
maybe
getting them
I
for
You're
a few
special,
months.
Bill.
maybe.
Doc and I get them, but you know, we're not exactly the sharpest tools in the box, are we, Doc?
Well, we're a different kind of special.
But they are removing the URL parameter tool, right?
They aren't removing it. It's not included. It's an old one. It's an old tool that hadn't been ported over to the new Google Search Console yet.
But are they
Yeah,
going to?
so you think they will at some point?
I think they will at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, because that was a tool that is actually really useful
Yep.
for, you know, controlling visibility.
When I look at the Google Search Console coverage tool and the things that aren't being indexed because of the way parameters work, I question whether or not parameter handling is even necessary because they're not indexing flawed parameters.
Right. Well, here's what my particular theme does. If I want to put, for instance, when I do categories on the blog, I have technical SEO, and then I have a thing for featured snippets. Causes two URLs, one that includes technical SEO and one that doesn't. Right? Canonicalization in WordPress doesn't always cover that, does it?
So your categories are causing more than one URL per page.
Right. So if you make, if you use, for instance, a setup where you have a category technical SEO and then a subcategory under it, say featured snippets, well, it can have two URLs. Can have the URL / featured snippets or technical SEO / featured snippets.
My understanding, Terry, is that WordPress core is going to see a category and a subcategory as two categories. So from what you're describing, that URL would be created under each of those.
That's what I mean.
You would be creating two, but that's been in existence for years.
Yeah, but there's no canonicalization for that.
Yeah, you're probably right. I think you'd have to manually go in there and fix that.
Yeah,
So that's
try and
that's
do that.
So
Try and
that's
do that
something
on
somebody's
WordPress. Not easy.
somebody's trying to do that with WordPress to break it. That breaks WordPress.
That's the way the core WordPress core handles.
Categories work. You can choose a main category and a subcategory.
You should
And it
not
will-
have you should not have two URLs for the same page. Regardless of
Right.
the fact that you should not have categories and URLs.
Which is one of the reasons that I started no indexing category pages years ago. The easiest way to get around that, because that's what the core does.
Yeah, WordPress automatically puts in a category, and if it doesn't, it puts in uncategorized, which is a category you can't even remove.
Yeah, but that doesn't create a duplicate
You're
URL.
thinking of pages, which you can do that. But on the blog,
What I'm
it can
what I'm thinking
create-
what I'm thinking of is you have a way to determine what you want your URLs to show, and you can determine whether or not you include a category in your URLs or not.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I
you
never
don't
do.
have,
Yeah.
You don't have to have a category in your URL. And if you have a page that's 2 categories and you're showing 2 URLs for that page because you have 2 different categories, that's flawed. You don't want that.
so you can turn categories off altogether. Is what
You
you're
can
saying.
turn categories. Yeah, you
take,
can.
take them out of the permalink, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's an easy fix then. I'll go to that. Thanks, Bill. Learn
All right.
something new every day. See?
The problem is, though, Terry, if you got an existing site where you've had categories in the URLs all along, now you can go in and change your permalinks and do away with that. But now you're also going to have to go into
Do
regex.
301s for every
and
one.
You're going to have to create a regex to handle all those redirects. Yeah.
Yeah, no thanks. Yeah, now I know on a new blog not to use categories. Too bad I'm retired and won't be naked.
Well, you can use categories. You just don't use categories in the URLs. Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you mean. But you could still find a category page with all the stuff that you put under that, correct?
Right.
Oh, sure.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Just because you don't have the category in the URL anymore doesn't mean you don't have a category page with links to all the pages in that category.
Right, but it would be hard for Google to discover those categories if it didn't know, if they weren't linked to from somewhere else on the site. Correct?
Well, yeah, discovery is always going to be an issue, but again, it's totally separate from having them in the URL.
Right.
that won't-
So you would have to have a page with all your categories that links to the category pages.
You would
Not
possibly
necessarily, but that's one way to do it.
you would possibly link to your categories from any of the pages inside your site, from the main page or from sub-page or post
Right.
pages. You can have links
Right.
to categories pages.
Because there
in
are
those.
links at the
Yeah.
top to the categories that. Oh, okay. Thanks, Bill.
Right.
See,
Smarter every day.
yeah, learn something new every day. Even though I've retired, I'm still learning. That's the way it is.
Yeah, these little things, you've been working with WordPress since around the time there was a WordPress.
No.
You start learning all these little
No.
tricks.
No, Bill.
I was
Terry
not an early adopter of WordPress.
Yeah, that's a fact. I can vouch for
Kicking
that.
and screaming would be more like it.
Okay,
What, maybe,
so
maybe
I
3 years, Terry.
made all my mistakes 10 years ago in WordPress or 15 years ago.
There
So
you go.
I mean, you
Yeah,
do
Terry,
learn as you go,
Terry
right?
used to talk about WordPress kind of like Edward Lewis talks about unvalidated HTML.
Pretty close.
Yeah, I've told a client once that they should validate their HTML on a page because I ran a validator on I saw a lot of errors, so I ran a validator on the page and it came up with 1,400 HTML errors. I said, you should probably fix those, just because if I had that much problems with the validator, I can imagine Googlebot trying to crawl and index that page. Not very well.
Yeah.
Makes it harder. That's usually caused by a tag left open. Validated enough pages in my day to know how that one happens.
Right. There's something seriously wrong. Right.
Speaking from personal experience, that can also happen when you convert a Joomla site to WordPress. It depends on how you do it. Some of those converter plugins don't handle HTML conversion real well from Joomla.
when you run into problems like spider traps on a site, and you're working with a site you know has lots and lots of links, but it's also got like a half a dozen or a dozen spider traps, and you're saying, oh, it's a shame they're like losing all the value of all those links from that. They are losing some value. There's a point where Google says, no, that URL doesn't exist. We're not going to send PageRank to it. So, Terry, you saw an article that said Google's testing knowledge panels in the middle search results?
Yeah. I don't know that I call them knowledge panels, though. They aren't what I would normally classify that. Some of it even look like ads to me.
So they look more like information cards, knowledge cards?
Yeah, more
Yeah.
like a card than a actual panel, because there's no pictures and there seem to be ads in it, right, Doc?
Yeah.
They do kind of look like ads, but I've seen them only a couple times.
Yeah, I think it's some kind of rich snippet. It's not actually a knowledge panel.
So I've seen knowledge panels with ads in them. Like if you have a knowledge panel for a movie, they'll include a link to live stream it. If you have a knowledge panel for a band and they're performing,
Tickets.
they're selling tickets, streaming services.
But if you're searching
YouTube.
for a band,
Yeah.
if you're searching for a band, you're probably also, you're either looking for album or tickets. Good chance.
Yeah. So
I
so
think
the
there'd be
knowledge
high intent there.
the knowledge panel is selling things they're anticipating people asking for. The intent's there.
Yeah, I didn't see the intent in what I thought were ads on this one.
Yeah. It allows Google to run an auction for ads based upon entities that they expect people to search for and based upon actions instead of a different string of words. So it's a different way of advertising.
Well, it was an
And-
insurance company too, Bill. I believe the one was, and it seemed like it was one of those service ads that they have
Yeah.
sometime in results. That's what it seemed like to me, but maybe,
One of the local service ads,
yeah.
LSAs, yeah.
But they also have special ads that they put in for insurance companies and stuff, right? Are they LSA ads as well?
You probably have to show me rather than just ask me. And
Because I remember in the dojo, there was a person who was working for an insurance company, and a few years back, he got pretty upset when he saw that they were starting to do these kind of like ad type things, where when you searched on an insurance type query, it gave you these insurance companies that you could check out. That was quite a few years back,
A list of all your competitors, huh?
pretty much. That were paying Google. Yeah, a list of all your
Yeah.
competitors that were paying Google.
Important distinction.
Yes.
I think I remember that discussion. Yeah, I think we were all kind of upset with that.
Yeah, because it could spread to all kinds of things, but it didn't. I noticed that they do that kind of stuff with big money stuff, financial stuff, insurance, mortgages, that kind of stuff, eh? Big time. I think they did airplane tickets the same way. In fact,
Yeah,
they even had they bought a seating system in order to do it. Again,
Yeah, I
that
could
would
Days
be
in
many years back.
days in Google. They
Yes, yeah. They bought a system for buying airplane tickets, the seat system.
Google bought a company that provided a seating system.
Right, right. And then shortly after that, they started ads.
Yeah.
But they generally, for those kind of special projects, choose big
Yeah.
ticket items like insurance, airplanes, travel, insurance, mortgages, the big money stuff, autos.
Auto insurance, I could see that being, a perfect landing spot for that kind of plot.
Yeah, because most people have auto insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, if you got a car, you got auto insurance.
So these look more like knowledge cards, rather
Yeah.
than the knowledge panels that we're used to.
Yeah, no images in the ones that they were showing. And that's usually you see images in a knowledge panel.
But yeah, I kind of got the same impression the first time I saw it. It almost looked like an ad. I almost skipped right past it because I thought it was an ad.
Yeah, I had trouble identifying the so-called knowledge panel in that, sir.
Well, Google does have a couple of features that are paid for, that are paid like site links. They have paid site links.
Mm-hmm.
They
Right.
look just like the organic site links, except they're higher up.
Now, they're extensions, I believe, in the ad in AdWords.
Right. There is one type of extension that's a local extension, and they add local type things like maps and so on.
Yep.
So there are organic type features that are paid for. So that would be a problem if you were ranking well. You get some kind of knowledge card and people were skipping past it because they thought it was an ad.
Yep. I would say that would be an issue, especially if you had a full-on knowledge panel before.
So featured snippets got moved up to where they're position 1. So why are these knowledge panels getting shown in the middle search results? It's odd.
That would indicate that people aren't using them as much as they would like, wouldn't it? That would be a reason they would move it.
They're not treating them the same way they're treating featured snippets.
No, or the regular knowledge panels, right? Which
Right.
are usually right up the results. To me, calling them a knowledge panel is an incorrect label.
Yeah.
But then what do you call them? And SEO's got to
have-
have a name for it.
Well, they got to
I
give a
have-
name to it, or else we'll give one to it.
I have seen those referred to as knowledge cards.
Yeah, but I don't
There
recall
was
if that came from
actually
Google.
there was actually a thing called a knowledge card in the past, was there not?
Wasn't that long ago.
They were referring to things like knowledge panels in mobile searches as knowledge cards.
Right. Okay.
Because
where
of the
I got it
formatting.
from. Right.
Because you can't show it to the right of search results because your phone's only
small.
so wide. Yeah.
Right. That's something I never looked at. What happens on a phone with a knowledge panel? Is it at the top?
No, it's
Or
sort
the
of
bottom?
squished. It's squished into the results. It's set up differently. It's a knowledge card. They're building the card into the results.
So it'd be closer to what we're seeing on the desktop in the illustration that was provided in that article.
I have to look at the illustration in the article
Oh,
to
okay.
tell you for sure.
Better still, when my brother comes over, I'll get him to fire up his phone.
Yeah. It helps. I'm looking at patents from Apple to see how they're doing search, and part of the problem with doing that is I don't have an iPhone, so I can't query Siri and get some of those results and see what they're
Right.
showing. So we're past the top of the hour. I'm glad we got back on. We're gonna shut down for the day. Thank you for joining us, everyone.
Hold on. Before we take off for a bit, I've been
Yeah.
quiet all day. I've been saving this up. Doc and I are hosting a conference for search and marketing down in Mexico next year. We haven't locked down the hard dates yet, but we'll be in September. And the plan is a day of speakers and food and probably alcohol in significant quantities. And then we'll probably follow that up with a day of fishing the next day if people want to stick around for day 2. Or if you're coming for the fishing and then using the conference as a write-off, that works too.
So this involves international travel. So people
yes, it
need
will.
a passport.
Yes, you will need a passport.
Passport or birth certificate if you're
Yes.
a U.S. citizen.
Yes.
With
And
a picture ID. So if you got a birth certificate and a Maryland driver's license, you're good. You know.
And like I said, this is we're scheduling it a year out because we're all kind of still a little on the fence on COVID, and give people who want to come to Mexico and spend some time down there with us. That would be awesome. And we don't have any hard speakers lined up, but Doc's got a list of interested people that will make it for a very interesting conference. And but like I said, right now we're looking at a 1-day conference followed by a day of fishing. If there's enough interest up front and we can get some hard commits from people, maybe we can do 2 days. We're just kind of playing it fast and loose. This is originally Doc had intended to do a conference 2 years ago, and we ran into some technical issues. So this is kind of a trial run before we start really hammering this as for something a little south of the border.
And just as a disclaimer, Steve and I really hate fishing, so it's not like we're doing this just as an excuse.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I know I've already got first place set up for the whoever catches the biggest fish. I'm going to go ahead and make a custom saltwater fishing rod for that person. But yeah, it will be an entertaining time. And if you are interested, reach out to Doc or me, and we'll put you on the list of people who's interested. And as we firm things up, we'll keep everybody up to date.
Anybody that goes to our site, mentorsontap.com, you can check in the top navigation. There's a link there to our Deep SEO meetup with an RSVP form. There's some information there, and you can always reach out and contact either of us if you have some questions. But we are going to be pressing here shortly to try to get a feel for head count for both the meetup and the fishing trip, because we got to nail down a venue and we got to nail down which size boat or how many boats we're going to need. So go over and check it out.
Okay, we're going to get self-promotional here. And tomorrow Terry and I are going to have the entity hour. It's going to be at 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 Eastern time, with Aaron Bradley of EA Sports. We're going to talk about knowledge panels and knowledge graphs. And it should be fun. Terry and I had a discussion about both of those earlier today.
Yeah, I think for people that are looking to get those kind of panels, it'll be interesting. I've researched how to get them for musicians, artists, and a few other things. And Aaron has incredible knowledge about the knowledge graphs that Google uses. A lot of knowledge on that, which is important. So, see you tomorrow.
Take care now. Thank you.
Bye all.